Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN Weekly for Saturday, February 21st, 2020. And our top stories today: retiree reaction to market turbulence and Wall Street turmoil. What can we expect in the weeks ahead? Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is James Brennick. He is a retired engineer with General Electric. Jim, thanks so much for joining the program.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Well, it's good to check in with you. And I guess really just want to hear what your thoughts are, given some of the market turbulence we've experienced and also this horrible pandemic that has us all working out of our homes. So let's start with the market turbulence, which is, it's really been a crazy market over the last 3 weeks or so. And you're a retiree, you draw a pension, you've got money that you set aside in a 401k, and you also have an IRA. So just really, how are you feeling, and what are your thoughts, just given what's going on?
Well, I feel good. I'm 80 years old, but I feel great. I'm hunkering down in place, trying to avoid crowds. Of course, I'm out here in Indiana. We don't have the issues that you guys have out on the East Coast, but
Sure.
And I hope we never do. And I hope you guys weather that storm, pretty well. No, my IRA, I transferred my 401k to my IRA when I retired,
Right.
and that's been 24 years ago.
Right.
And I've watched it grow. It's been good for me. I'm totally into Vanguard. I like Vanguard a lot. It works for me. Like I said, I've lost 15% of my assets in that IRA since the 1st of February. I just checked it yesterday, and it's just about 15%. So fortunately, I don't need that money to live on. I have a pension, I have Social Security, and right now I'm more concerned, if you will, about health than I am about physical health and economic health.
Yeah.
But I'm in the position where I can do that.
Yeah, you are. And I know that, I mean, obviously very positive for you. You mentioned Social Security, you mentioned the pension. Let's stop for a minute. And you said you're in Indiana. I know you have children. How has it been communicating with your other members of your family, given that you have to remain home? We all have to remain home. So how has that been?
Sure. Yes. My daughter, I have one child, and I have 3 grandchildren, and they live in Alaska. So we FaceTime, we text. My daughter works for a healthcare organization up there. Mm-hmm. My son-in-law is a teacher, so he's teaching from home now because they basically canceled all, in-house classes. So he's at home, fortunately, able to take care of the 3 children. So that's working out fairly well so far.
Yeah, and I think we're in the early parts of this. Well, you're naturally, just because the family's in Alaska, you've already been telecommuting, and I know you have friends all around the country that you talk to on
Yes.
the phone regularly. So I'd imagine you are continuing to do that. Does I think there's a lot of unknowns with respect to the virus. There's a lot of unknowns with respect to the economy. You can't even leave the house or the apartment to go frequent some of your favorite haunts, like restaurants and places like that. I mean, how do you manage that? I mean, it's challenging, right?
It is challenging. I last went out for groceries a few days ago, but I'm in for good now. I think I can stay here for probably 3 months without having to go out again. The big thing is I'll probably go nuts in the meantime. But
yeah.
But I read books. I fortunately, like you said, I have Skype. I have the computer, the telephone, and so I can stay in touch with friends. It's working out so far, but we're just in the beginning of this. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, in terms of the stock market, I know you said you checked in on your account, I think as of yesterday, but is it something that are you constantly watching the news, digesting the news, and looking where the Dow Jones Industrial Average is or the S&P is, or is it something that you say, things will come back? I'm bullish on everything that's happening long term, and I'm fortunate to have Social Security and pension. What's your mindset with respect to that?
That's exactly right. Like I said, I worry, not that I worry, I'm more concerned about physical health than I am about economic health. I'm in a good place. I'm going to ride it out. I'm not going to make crazy decisions and emotional decisions. I'm going to just ride it out. I can afford to do that. I don't need the cash. I don't need to panic, so I'm not doing that. I'm just going to just stay in place, and it will come back. There's no doubt in my mind. How long that's going to take is anybody's guess, but we'll see.
Yeah. And then when you talk to your friends, you talk to your loved ones, how's their demeanor? I mean, I feel like we digest a lot of this stuff on a day-to-day basis. We're all really dependent on what the Dow Jones does or what the markets do. But what's the sense from your friends and family members with respect to the economy?
My friends are kind of all over the place on this. I have a good friend that watches the stock market on a daily basis, and we're even having lunch together, shooting pool or whatever. And he's looking at his phone, looking to see I made $1 today or whatever. I can't get into that. But then I have other friends that share the same philosophy that I have, and that is, it'll come back. I'm going to let it ride. I'm not going to panic. So they're all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said your grandchildren, are they old enough to know what is transpiring? Or are they still on the younger
They're
side?
not old enough to know. I do have a college 529 plan for them, and that is, unfortunately, I've been into total stocks on that because I have the time. So that's lost more than my own IRA has, but that'll come back too. I'm not too concerned.
And if they're young, they're not going to be going to school for several years. So got plenty of time to get that market appreciation back. Well, Jim, I want to thank you so much for popping by the program. Really appreciate you. I know times are tough for many Americans, you included, in just terms of dealing with all this craziness. But we'll weather the storm like we always do, and things will improve. So thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much, and you stay well out there, okay? Take care.
Try. Thanks, Jim. And when we come back, Wall Street market turmoil continues, but what can we expect in the days and weeks ahead? We'll be joined by Christina Hooper, so you stay tuned right here on BRN Weekly. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive Fibrex composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back, and now we're going to shift gears to the market turmoil. And joining me now to talk about what we can expect in the weeks and days ahead is Christina Hooper. She is the Chief Global Market Strategist with Invesco. Christina, thanks so much for joining the program this morning.
Thanks for having me, Jeffrey.
So it's always great to see you and appreciate you spending a few minutes with us. So in our first segment, we had Jim, and Jim's account's down about 15%. But, he's 80 years old and he is intent on riding this out. But I want to come to you because obviously so much going on with markets, the volatility, and also the coronavirus. So, and I know you are way out in front of this in terms of you and your colleague are reporting this. So what can you tell us? How are you seeing things stack up both today and going forward?
So my expectation is we are in for more volatility. Clearly, this is the kind of event that is far out of the area of expertise of markets. And so that brings with enormous amount of concern, uncertainty, and to add to it, there's a lack of confidence. I think that was really born of what we went through in the global financial crisis, in that we barely got TARP passed. And I think that is burned in the minds of many market participants. So expect more in the way of volatility, although I am seeing some level of improvement in confidence. Central banks have made it clear this week that they are willing to bend over backwards to really do anything. So think of it as part 2 of Mario Draghi's promise about 8 years ago to do whatever it takes. It seems like that is what multiple central banks are trying to articulate right now. And so that certainly has improved market sentiment a bit. But what we're really going to be looking for is that fiscal stimulus. And we need to make sure that it's not just coming, but that it's adequate enough. So I expect multiple phases of fiscal stimulus.
I mean, are these lessons learned from 2008 being implemented today? I mean, shouldn't that just the quickness, maybe not a great word, but the quickness by which all this has kind of been drummed up by the federal government, by the Federal Reserve, by these European central banks to respond quickly. We lived through 2008. And I don't recall the expeditious movement, or at least it wasn't as expeditious to me. And shouldn't that buoy the markets a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there's certainly a much greater speed at which central banks are moving and at which some governments seem to be moving compared to what we saw in the global financial crisis. That's a real positive. But keep in mind that in the ensuing years between the global financial crisis, Congress has become more fractured, more political. So I think there's that fear that when push comes to shove, we won't see adequate fiscal stimulus that will wind up essentially disintegrating into partisan squabbling. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I am worried by things like the U.S. administration refusing to remove tariffs on Chinese goods. This is an environment where we need to have all hands on deck in terms of policy that is supportive of economic growth.
Yeah, you're absolutely, in my mind, absolutely correct. And I'm certainly not an economist, but it just makes sense to kind of loosen things up is the way I would describe it. So remove some of the regulatory barriers. And we're actually seeing that. I've been watching the president's press conference every day, or the coronavirus reaction team, and they've been loosening up regulatory hurdles for the FDA. They should likewise do the same thing in markets. I think that will certainly unleash those animal spirits, so to speak, and get people really thinking about putting money back in.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what we are going to need to see to really find a bottom and ensure that stocks are moving back up is either adequate fiscal stimulus or signs that infection rates are going down. And I think we're going to get fiscal stimulus before we see the latter, unless, of course, everyone follows the rules and stays inside. But either one could be a powerful catalyst, as you mentioned. And that's really what we have to look forward to. So for those who have stayed the course, I think patience will ultimately be rewarded. It's going to be hard for those who pulled out to find an entry point, just as it was during the global financial crisis, because markets moved up rather quickly once March 9th rolled around.
Yeah. So let's talk about small business, because as we've talked about many times, you and I and others who are, really smarter than I am, obviously, but, these small businesses, they're the lifeblood of the American economy. And with this shutdown, and they employ the majority of individuals in this country. It's not just the big organizations, the big corporations that employ people. These smaller businesses, these mom and pop retailers, et cetera, they're going to be significantly hit. And I know people that have been already laid off. They're collecting now unemployment. Are you concerned? And I'm sure you're concerned, but what's your degree of concern for the potential for lingering unemployment and what that could mean to productivity within the country?
Oh, I'm absolutely concerned about lingering unemployment. And that's why I tried to underscore the importance of adequate fiscal stimulus. To me, adequate fiscal stimulus isn't just a dollar amount. It is targeted to those that are on the front lines of this crisis. And so what we need to see is, for example, payments to individuals who have lost their income as a result of this. We also need to keep companies afloat. And we can actually pull a page from China's playbook. They gave subsidized loans to companies to continue to pay employees to stay home. That's what we need, something that helps employees directly and also helps companies directly. Now, it doesn't have to be that specific program, but again, it has to be targeted to keeping companies afloat and keeping households afloat. What we've learned over the last few years is that one of the greatest vulnerabilities in the American economy is that there is such a large cohort of U.S. households that have virtually no savings. That's been borne out in a variety of surveys, including surveys conducted by the Fed. And that should give us pause. And certainly it wasn't much of a concern with very low unemployment and a solid economy. Now it is of grave concern. And so this needs to be viewed as triage. Just as much as we're doing triage in terms of the health component of this, we need to do triage in terms of the economic component of this crisis. Absolutely. Well, we will certainly all be watching. And now that we have time at home spending with our loved ones and, doing work, but also, we're here, so we might as well be keeping our eyes peeled on what's happening day to day. Christina Hooper, great to see you. Thanks so much. Stay safe, and we will, of course, talk to you again very soon. You too. Thank you. And this wraps up today's episode of BRN Weekly. But we're not done for the week, because tomorrow members of media, academia, and financial services join the podcast BRN Sunday to analyze all of the news and bring you the latest developments. You're not going to want to miss that. So until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-757-1451. That's 1-800-757-1451.